The Lord tells us to come to Him, all you who are weary and burdened, and He will give you rest. Have you lost a baby from a miscarriage? Are you hiding the pain of an abortion? Singer, songwriter, and worship leader Phil King has witnessed many friends undergoing grief and the journey to heal. His songs are reaching millions, and his message to you will touch your heart. This is his story. This is today's Nashville. This is faith. Phil, what a blessing to sit down with you this morning. Welcome to today's Nashville.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, I love your worship and ministry. Tell me more about it. When did you decide to get into becoming a worship leader?
Well, I was forced. My mom, growing up, you know, I just want to play baseball, you know, and sports and stuff in high school. And my mom was like, there's something when you sing, you know. So she put me in the choir, and I would grudgingly show up in dirty baseball pants to choir practice.
At church?
Yeah, at church. Yep. In the kids' choir. And then in my teenage years, you know, started playing instruments. And I just really fell in love with the presence of God. You know, the way that the Lord shows up when His people gather together to worship just started moving me more and more and more the older I got. And,
where'd you grow up?
In California. Yeah. So I was born in Central California, a little farming town, agricultural town called Turlock. No one's ever heard of it, but it's a beautiful place and a lot of cornfields. It was a wonderful place to really hone my craft, you know, learn writing songs, a lot of free time those early years. And anyways, that would lead me here in my late teenage years. Early 20s, I was on a label, EMI Gospel. Back when EMI was still a thing, I was on an imprint under them, and just really had a wonderful season here, and ended up at a church in Franklin. And again, that love for the presence of the Lord just kept growing and growing, and songs. And
how old were you at this
time?
I was
20, 21 years old, 22. So. And one day, Michael W. Smith came into church, and I was like, I think that's my hero in the back, you know.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was the craziest thing. You know, I was leading worship, and then got a call from him one day. Actually, it was a 615 number I didn't recognize. And it's like, hello? Hey, Phil. And I said, who's this? You know, just kind of like, why are you calling me? It's like, this is Michael. It's like, oh my goodness. You know, so ended up singing with him, traveling with him a little bit.
What was that like?
Oh man, I mean, there's nothing like working with the person that you listen to growing up. I don't know if I've ever told him this, but when I was 7 or 8 years old in that little town in Turlock, I went to a Bible bookstore back when those were a thing, and I put on the headphones. I was probably like this tall. And I pressed his CD, you know, to listen to the samples. Remember how you could do that? You could play like 30-second samples through the whole album. And I remember taking them off and being like, Mom, who is this? And it was him. You know, it was my first CD.
Oh, you need to let him know.
I know, I need to. I just don't want to be weird, but anyways. But yeah, he's been a wonderful friend. And anyways, in that season, you know, coming back here, really formative years in my life, and a lot of friends that I was running with in that time. Some of them are still just crushing it today, and doing wonderful things for Jesus, and would end up in Texas, you know, in Dallas, at Christ for the Nations Institute. I was a worship leader there, and then a worship leader at Gateway Church, which is a large church in DFW, and then now at in Amarillo at Trinity Fellowship. And so it's been a journey, you know, the whole worship thing. Again, going back to when I was a kid, I wasn't planning on it at all. It just kind of took over. You know, each day with Jesus is a journey, and so just season by season, He's been so faithful to just take me into some cool things. And
When was that time when you really decided to follow Jesus and your passion? Was there a time in your life that you just said, this is it?
Yeah, I think when I was here at the church in Franklin that I was a part of, God just marked me. And I really fell in love with his kingdom and the church and ministering to people in that season, and that just kept growing.
Is there a song that you can think of that has really touched your life growing up or?
Yeah, I would say, not to keep talking about Michael, but that worship album he put out, in the early 2000s, really, I remember as a kid just soaking in that constantly, that really set me on a trajectory. And again, bringing up the presence of the Lord again in corporate worship, that I love to write songs like that. But something about being a worship pastor and being in the church has really set me on a course and triggered my love for, like I said, ministering to people and their needs and their brokenness and what's happening in their lives, as well as doing songs that are in corporate worship settings. And there's a song I wrote called "Not Forgotten" that really infiltrated the pro-life movement. I would say those two things. Those are my two spheres that I love to operate in, love to work in. Bringing God's people together to sing to Him, as well as really ministering to the brokenness in people.
Right. You wrote "Unforgotten" and "Miscarriages." That's your ministry.
Yeah.
Tell me about "Miscarriages."
Yeah, so "Miscarriages" is a song I wrote last year, and it really sprang from some friends of ours who they were pregnant with twins. I'm a father of twins, which is awesome, crazy and awesome.
How old?
Almost 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a son and a daughter, and it's just wild. If you ever come over, it's just there's stuff. There's always just stuff, but it's amazing. Hardest thing and best thing I've ever done. But some friends of ours were pregnant with twins, and we were so excited for them. Well, they ended up losing baby B, who would have been the second to be born, and for us, that would have been our son. And I don't know, Terry, something about that, especially with the whole twin thing, and that's what we just went through, and the joy that brought us, it was really hit me in the gut, to have close friends of ours suffer that kind of loss. And that just set me on a course to write this song, and actually wrote it just for them to hear, and then shared it with another couple that had a loss, and then they shared it with another. Hey, can we share this song with my boss? Actually, hey, can I share this song with family members that just had a miscarriage? And it just kept kind of trickling out, and so I thought, well, I think I need to put this out, and it's been incredible.
What was the response from your friends?
Oh, I mean, they're not very outspoken people. They're good, West Texas folk. But the husband came up to me at church, and this was a big deal. He put his arm around me and just said thank you, and it was pretty emotional. I'd call it quiet emotion, but it was there. The brokenness and the tenderness, and that's just been the response everywhere. I'm actually surprised there's not a well-known song already ministering to that part of people's lives, because it's so common.
So many people are just holding it in, hiding it.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about more when we come back. Phil, God has given you an amazing platform to reach the hurting of a miscarriage and abortion. Tell me about what happened in New York.
Focus on the Family, Colorado Springs, amazing ministry, reached out. They heard the song. Michael W. Smith actually told them about it, and they said, hey, we're doing this big event in Times Square called Alive from New York. And at that time, Roe v. Wade had not been overturned yet, but there was a lot of steam building, with movements like the March for Life, Susan B. Anthony lists. I mean, so many amazing things have just been going on for years and years, really at the forefront of the fight for life for the unborn. and they kind of all converged, and Focus on the Family had people there like, Alveda King, Francesca Battistelli was doing worship. Unplanned had just released. They had Abby Johnston there, and the actress as well from the movie. Like a lot of people at the forefront of that movement, and 20+ thousand people that they could count. So it was the largest pro-life rally in New York that had ever happened. And they asked me to play that song I wrote, Not Forgotten, at the end of the whole thing. And there's nothing like standing up for life and purity and righteousness and defending the unborn in the middle of the cultural center of the world, really. There were thousands of people there, but there were also thousands of protesters. It was crazy, Terry, like I'm waiting to sing and there's just all these people that look like they want to kill me, protesting, and NYPD's in between us and them. And
what was going through your mind?
Oh, I was just praying the whole time. I kept thinking of David and Goliath, little kid just standing up for what's right, and the battle that was going on for Israel at that time. And, obviously no one was throwing spears at each other, but it felt like it, that's a pretty intense setting when you're stepping into government and policy, because that's territory that has been the territory of death and the enemy for decades. And that's something I don't believe he would want to give up lightly. So there was quite a rage, that day. And still is in a lot of ways. But anyways, got up and sang that song. And there's a part of that song, the bridge, where it says, it's a simple prayer: Jesus, heal our land. You're the answer. We return our hearts to you. You're the answer. And the rest of the song is, for the unborn. And it was really powerful. It was just so incredible, so grateful I got to do that and be a part of that event.
So what would you say to somebody that has had an abortion?
Oh, God loves you. He forgives you. Your baby's with Jesus. In fact, when I wrote the song, it was right after the state of New York, which is crazy. I did so many events in New York, and I actually played at the Capitol building 3 weeks after that law was passed. So that law was passed by Governor Cuomo at the time for late-term abortion, and everybody, this is in 2019, just went. People were rejoicing, and the church was mourning and outraged, and people that love righteousness were just so upset. And anyways, when I wrote the song, I had this picture of millions and millions of people around the throne of God whose lives had been aborted. And as soon as I saw that, the song just like hit me like a bucket just got dumped on me of the lyrics, the melody, everything. I wrote it like so fast. And I bring that up to say, for those who have aborted a child, knowingly or unknowingly, what you were doing, pressured or unpressured, willfully or unwillfully, whatever, that child's with the Lord.
Yes.
The Bible is very clear that life begins in the womb. In fact, the first person to recognize Jesus, as we know, is John the Baptist in his mother Elizabeth's womb. She says, "Blessed are you," talking to Mary, my baby knew who was in your womb. And so life is precious to God, and it starts here. And so that would be my encouragement to those people. You're so forgiven. God so loves you. And in fact, many of the people who are on the forefront of the fight for life have had abortions. Many of the women who are paving the way for those policies to turn around have had abortions.
It's amazing how God turns lives around.
It is, yeah. It's incredible.
Do you have anybody that comes to mind, that the stories or the song that has reached, that just has come to you and said, hey?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when that song came out, my inbox was just blowing up, and people who were canceling abortions after they heard it, receiving freedom and healing after they heard it. One friend of mine, was moved to adopt after they heard it. It really had a great impact. And there was another story too in Oklahoma. A congressman's daughter shot me a message, and she said, "Hey, I just want you to know my father's working on this new thing called the Heartbeat Bill, and we have your song on repeat as he's working on it." And I know that it reached into some cool places in government. In fact, Mike Pence was tweeting about that event that day in Times Square, and with y'all in spirit. And so it was amazing. There's so many stories. And I'm just a little guy from a country farming town in California,
Did you ever imagine God would use you?
No. But he likes to go to Nazareth, and the Bethlehems. And that'd be my encouragement for anybody watching, that you're like, can God use me? Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. He can take your little pebble and use it to take out a giant.
And you've gone on tour. Did you go on tour with Franklin Graham recently?
Yeah. So not with him, but it was a Billy Graham tour, and it was leading up to the event where he was at, and Michael and Cece were there. I was texting Michael during it, but we did 11 nights of worship for young people all across England, and I think we're going to be doing another one next year. It was the first time Billy Graham's ever done a tour of worship, just worship nights across a region, and it was unbelievable. God's moving in Europe. Yeah.
He is, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to listen to a song when we come back.
All right.
Phil, will you play a little bit of Miscarriages?
Yeah, absolutely. They did not awake in this world. They awoke in the arms of God. The first light they saw was heaven's majesty. They're growing up being taught by Jesus, so alive in blessed freedom. How could a child be lost if they're home? So mommy and daddy, don't you be afraid, for your little baby, it's gonna be okay. They're being held in the arms of Jesus, and they can't wait to meet you soon someday.
It's enough to bring tears. Is it always difficult to sing that song?
Yeah, it's a tough one to sing. In fact, the first time I played it live in front of a group of people, the day after it released, I happened to be in a room full of counselors, family counselors, marriage and family folks from all around the country that had gathered in Texas for a conference. And these people deal with a lot of life stuff, with a lot of hurt, a lot of loss, a lot of trauma. And I was supposed to just do worship that day, and I said, hey, the song just came out, so I just want to play it for you guys real quick. And there were a lot of ladies in the room, a lot of women counselors. It's probably the majority, I'd say. And so, I said, I've been the recipient of counseling and you guys making a safe place for people like me. So maybe this could be a healing moment for some of you guys. And man, it's just tears. Anytime I've played it live, it's tough to get through. I have to man up and think about, I don't know, guns and fishing while I'm playing it, because I can't get through it,
It does. It just brings tears.
Yeah.
But it has to be a lot of healing for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot after I wrote this song. Miscarriage is a crazy thing because you've suffered the loss of a very real human life, but you have no photographs with them. Sometimes there's not a name yet, no memories other than, whatever happened here. And it's a very isolating, lonely type of grief. In fact, one of my friends reached out who heard it. I didn't even know this. I've known him for years, Terry, and he said, "Thank you for writing that. My wife and I have had 10 miscarriages, and this is the first time in the space of a song we've been able to grieve." And that's just been the story over and over and over and over from people everywhere. There have even been some people that have written in. One gal said, "I had my miscarriage 40 years ago, and this is the first time I've stopped to weep over it while listening to this song." And I think there's power in tears. There's power in grieving. There's power in mourning. I think sometimes we get up too fast after loss and just go, 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 and we don't process. We live in such a busy society. And those things, we carry them with us. And that was really my goal when I wrote this song, was to give people a safe place to process with God and with the truth and hope of heaven attached to it.
So true.
That, like I told my friend who lost 10 children in the womb, like, boy, when you get to heaven, he'd be like Jacob, like 12 kids total.
Because I think a lot of people don't see that.
Right.
That they're safe, they're with the Lord.
Right, yeah. Heaven's more real than here. You hear those NDE, near-death experience stories all the time. And the disciples, they saw Jesus alive and risen from the grave. They touched him, ate with him. And I think that's why they were so willing to lay their own lives down. Death had been overcome, and the promise of heaven was absolutely sure. And I know, without a doubt, and just based on things you read in Scripture, every child that's been lost in the womb is safe.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It gives us hope.
Yes.
Gives them hope.
And yes, and joy, and something to look forward to. I mean, I can't imagine, the reunions that are going to be happening. In fact, my pastors heard this song, and they had actually had an abortion as teenagers, way before they were in ministry, obviously. And God's redeemed everything and is using them powerfully in that area. And I've heard them talk about their child, and I played this for my pastor's wife. I was like, "Hey, can I show you this song?" And just, oh man, just Niagara Falls, just tears. But I saw that, I've seen it, the healing that happens when people remember the hope and the joy that's ahead for them, being reunited with their children.
Well, before we talk about what God is doing now and where he's taken you, will you play a little bit of
Not Forgotten?
Not Forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, find my place here. Okay. For the one whose song we won't hear, for the one whose voice disappeared, for the melody held in your heart, and for all of your dreams torn apart. You are not forgotten. We are fighting for you. We've entered your silent cry to be your voice. Your life was not for nothing. We celebrate your heartbeat. The price that you paid is a fire that'll change this world. You are not forgotten.
Phil, it's beautiful. We have a few minutes left. You have a beautiful wife.
Yeah.
2 twin daughters. No,
Yeah,
twins,
boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl. You met
Yeah, through that song.
through that song. Tell me where God is taking you in the future.
Yeah, Well, being a dad is the best thing ever. The future is full of a lot of fatherhood, which I'm so excited about. And writing a lot of new songs, and just doing life with my wife and kids, you know, and there's some cool things happening. Can't really talk about it yet on the music side of things, and some awesome open doors that I'm real excited to share about. You know, but if people want to keep up with the journey, you can always type my name in on social media or whatever, or on the internet, philkingmusic.com, and follow along. And I do respond if you send a message, but
Sounds like you get a lot of messages.
yeah, yeah. I'm just so thankful, you know. And my hope is that I continue to write songs that point people to Jesus, you know, and really deeply minister to people's hearts, like these songs. You know, I think it's such an honor to be a part of the kingdom of God, and being a priest. You know, and the Bible talks about priesthood. It's connecting God to people and people to God, you know. And so that's what we're all about and what I love to do.
Phil, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What a blessing. My friend, have you suffered a miscarriage or had an abortion? Like Phil said, they are not forgotten. They are with the Lord. Put your hope in Him. Trust Him. This is today's Nashville. This is faith.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.